face in your face.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Kelsey, the spooky spinster, and here we talk about all things spooky from urban legends to true crime. Today we have a paranormal one. Okay, I don't know how to start videos. I'm really bad at this, so we're just gonna jump right into it. I discovered the story when I was doing research for a different story that I was gonna do, and then I came across this one on this sketch article I was reading, and it said a lot but very little, and I was intrigued immediately. So I thought I need to talk about this, because I had never heard about this, and it's just so wild start to finish. Unreal. And it's very heavily documented. It's a paranormal story, and usually with stories like this, it's always just like the mom or the kid is like, oh my god, look, Billy's walking on the ceiling, and then like no one else knows anything about it or has pictures or documents of it. But like, this story has a ton. Okay, so let's just get right into it. So this is the story of Latoya Amons. We're gonna go with Amons. If I'm saying that wrong, Latoya, I am sorry. So basically, I'm gonna use words like claims and alleged because it is a paranormal, and they still think that she kind of is crazy, but there's so much proof that I just don't know how it can't be. But anyway, so she and her 3 kids move into this house in Gary, Indiana, and all 3 kids are possessed. Okay, that's right out of the gate. So Latoya and her mom Rosa, well, the mom is with them too. So Latoya, the 3 kids who will not be named, and their grandma move into this house. Totally normal house, except like, look at this picture. This was taken by a police officer, and like, you can see a ghost just like standing there in the window. Lovely place to raise a family. Okay, so they move in to this house, and the first thing they noticed was like a swarm of flies appearing on their porch, and then it would just be gone. And then they noticed loud thumping and banging coming from the basement steps, which is kind of where they think like all this started for some reason. Like, these basement steps are creepy AF, and they heard a lot of mysterious noises coming from there. And then they saw muddy footprints just appearing in the house all over the place. That all happened really, really quick. And then it progressed to a lot of violent behavior, and they're very spooky things. The Indianapolis Star, I don't know if that's like their newspaper or a news station, I probably should have looked. They have a very comprehensive list of like all the events that took place. They have interviews with the family. They have interviews with police, clergy members, psychologists, and DCS, so like Child Protective Services. They have 800 pages of documents from all the things that happened in this house. So it's very, very well documented, unlike a lot of paranormal cases. So buckle up, my little spooksters. This is a wild one. So in March of 2012, okay, well, they moved into this house at the end of 2011. I think it was like December, because after only 4 months of living there, at like 2 a.m., Rosa, the grandmother, she woke up in the middle of the night and she heard screams. So she's like, what the heck is going on? And runs to the girls' bedroom. There's 2 sons and a daughter, 7, 9, and 12-year-olds. So she runs to the girl's bedroom. I think that the girl is 12, and this girl is levitating out of her bed. This is the first like big incident, because the thumping and like the footprints and all that, that's pretty tame in comparison to the rest of this story. So the grandma rushes in and sees her granddaughter floating above her bed, and then she crashes down and comes to, and she has no memory of it happening whatsoever. So that's creepy. Two clairvoyants came to the house eventually, and they told them that there was over 200 spirits in this house. Some articles said demons, some just said spirits and ghosts. That'd be messed up if they were all demons, because that's, ooh, no thank you. So the family's church recommended pouring olive oil on the children's hands and feet and putting crosses of olive oil on the kids' foreheads for like protection, but I don't think that clearly did not work for them. They also said that they should make a little altar down in the basement by the stairs to try to calm things down. And then a friend went down there and did that for them and like prayed over it. And everything was good, I think, for like 3 days after that. So after about 3 days of no incidents, the 7-year-old boy, all of a sudden, he was found in a closet, like talking to who he claimed was another little boy, and all the children started acting out. But Latoya was like, who are you talking to? And her son was like, I'm talking to this little boy. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? What is he saying to you? And her 7-year-old son said that he was talking to this little boy, and he was describing what it was like to be killed. Ugh, creepy. Not long after that, she claims that the 7-year-old flew out of the bathroom, like literally like whoosh, out of the bathroom door. And that the 12-year-old needed stitches in her head because something hit her so hard in the head that it cut her open. It didn't say like if she was hit with an object in the house or if something just like hit her and she got cut open. Very creepy. The girl told healthcare professionals that sometimes she felt like she was being choked, and a voice would tell her that she was never going to see her family again. One time she said this voice told her that she was not going to be alive in 20 minutes. Very specific, very creepy. I don't like that. So then in April of that same year, so only like a couple of weeks later, they went to go see a doctor, and the doctor said that it was something he'll never forget. Like, he was terrified as soon as he like stepped foot into the house and he saw those kids. And that the 7-year-old boy and the 9-year-old boy, as soon as they saw him, they started cursing and grunting at him, and they spoke in a demonic voice. And then right after that, they passed out cold, and no one could get them to wake up. So, of course, they called 911, and they were all rushed to the hospital. So when both boys woke up in the hospital, they both began screaming and thrashing. It took 5 adult men to subdue this 7-year-old boy and to get him to lay down. That's some like super strength. The children's behavior was so unusual and so crazy that doctors thought that the mother was suffering a mental illness and like making the kids act this way. So that's really unfortunate, because that's unfortunately what went into this report from this doctor, and that's going to come into play a little bit later for them. So they were reported to child services for possible child abuse. So at this point, Latoya, she was looked at by a psychiatrist to see like how she was doing mentally, because they thought this was like her doing. She was making the kids act like this. And the doctors came back that she was totally of sound mind and totally sane. So a caseworker came to evaluate the children. This is all happening while they're still in the hospital from the incident with the 2 boys passing out. So she met with the youngest boy, the 7-year-old, and as soon as she saw him, he started to growl, and he like showed his teeth at her, and then his eyes rolled to the back of his head. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny. It's very creepy. I just, nervous laughter, I guess, because if my kid did that, bang. Just kidding. Then the 7-year-old boy lunged out at his 9-year-old brother and started to strangle him, and was using a voice that wasn't his own. And he looked at his brother in this demonic voice and said, "It's time to die. I will kill you." Now, this is all happening in the hospital still, in front of everyone there. Their mom is there. There's nurses there. There's the caseworker there. Everyone's witnessing this. So then, once the 7-year-old lets go of the 9-year-old, the 9-year-old runs to the grandmother and starts trying to headbutt her. So the grandmother then took the boy's hand and stop headbutting me, kid. And she started to pray. And now this is another huge incident that happens once again in front of everyone. They're still in the hospital at this point in the story. The 9-year-old, he starts to walk backwards up the wall and to the ceiling. And he's standing on the ceiling and does a flip and lands perfectly on his feet, all while holding his grandma's hand still. And then he just sits down like nothing happened. Now, once again, they are still in the hospital. He did this in front of a nurse and in front of the caseworker. So again, like, it's not like it's just in front of the mom or the grandma or the siblings and people are just like, "Oh my gosh, look what's happening. And then other people come around and nothing's happening. Like, he's doing this in front of all these other people. So the 7-year-old boy, he stayed overnight in the hospital with his mom, LaToya, and then the grandma took the 2 other children to stay the night at a relative's house. Thank the Lord. They returned the next day, which would happen to be the youngest boy's 8th birthday, but they were greeted by some DCS workers, and they took all 3 children into custody while they tried to like figure out what the heck's going on with this family, because again, they were thinking that the mom was making them act this way. Like, I don't think they really cared about what people were witnessing, or that this kid just like walked on the wall and on the ceiling. So the following day, the hospital had contacted a reverend and they wanted to do an exorcism on the 9-year-old boy. The reverend agreed, but at first he wanted to interview the mom and the grandma. During the interview with the reverend, they're all in the home, and the reverend said that the light bulbs in the bathroom kept flickering, the blinds in the kitchen were swinging back and forth, and muddy footprints appeared in the living room right in front of them. So during this whole ordeal, LaToya and her mom Rosa, they moved out temporarily to, well, not temporarily really, because they needed to move out permanently. But they were staying somewhere else, and then DCS contacted them and they wanted to do an inspection, see how everyone was doing. So they came to the house with a Gary police officer, Charles Austin, and they also brought the nurse who witnessed the kid walking on the wall and on the ceiling. After that inspection, I'm not really sure what all happened during it, because the officer said that the police recorder, like he had like a voice recorder and a video recorder, it malfunctioned the whole time he was in there and they didn't get anything. He said that when he left, he now believed in ghosts and in demons, and he will never step foot in that house again. While there, the police officer, he did take photos of the basement, and they said they could kind of like make out a male figure in the basement and kind of like a green shadowy figure of a woman. So by the end of April in 2012, there was a petition from DCS to take temporary wardship over the kids. They couldn't really write a report saying that this house was haunted and they need to get those kids out. But at the same time, the kids were in danger and bad things were happening to them. They were missing school because of all this. So that's kind of how they swung it, and that was granted by the juvenile court. So the kids were placed with DCS at that time. During all this, the kids were all evaluated, and pretty much everyone said, all the doctors and all the psychologists said that they were behaving like this because of their mother. Their mother had a mental illness and she was making them act like this. I guess during some of the interviews, like if the kids didn't want to answer a question or if they were just kind of over it, they would act possessed to get out of it, and they would just like start grunting and screaming, and that would be the end of it. So like, I don't know why they did that. I mean, they were young. They were like 7 and 9. 12 isn't too young, but you know, maybe they just like, they wanted to be with their mom, like they wanted to be with their family, and they're with, you know, Child Protective Services. Of course they're not going to want to like answer questions. So in the meantime, while the children were gone, LaToya was having several exorcisms performed on her by the Reverend earlier, and by November she had her kids back. They were back in Indianapolis instead of in the house in Gary, and everything was totally fine. DCS, you know, still comes out and like visits them and sees how they're doing, and ever since they got out of that house, nothing bad has happened to them and everything's good. So now here's what I don't understand. So this house that they moved into was a rental. So obviously people reached out to the owner of the house and like, hey, what's up with your house? So this man, Charles Reed, the owner of the house, said that he had never heard of any of these type of incidences before this house. There was no hauntings before. There were no complaints from other tenants ever. And he also stated that there are renters in there currently and they have never experienced anything paranormal there either. I don't believe that. But who's lying? I mean, people witnessed all this stuff happening in this house to these kids. What? I think the landlord is lying. 100%. Like, I think he knew that there was some creepy stuff happening in that house, and that still happens in the house, and I think he just wants to keep renting it out to make money. I don't know. I don't like it. This case kind of creeped me out because, like, this poor family, like, they were just trying to get by, and they move into what they think is just this nice family home, and their whole world gets totally turned upside down. Like, just exorcisms, hospital visits, get your kids taken away. Ugh, what a nightmare. What a nightmare. I would love to hear what you think. I don't think it's mental illness. I just don't think so. There's too many other people who are like, that house is messed up. Those kids were possessed. That kid walked on the freaking wall and on the ceiling. Like, what? I don't know. What do you think, guys? Thanks for watching. If you liked this, please like, subscribe, tell your friends. Watch again. Bye.